Today we're talking all things royal and we're joined by royal editor Russell Myers.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Have you ever had such a welcome, Russell?
I haven't.
Yay, Russell's here.
So, Russell, I wanted to ask you, because today Princess Diana would have been 65, significant birthday. It's going to be a tough day for her boys.
Well, of course. I mean, they've both spoken openly in the past about how much they miss her, about how much they're dedicated to trying to follow her legacy, or certainly solidify her legacy. And we've seen the work that they've done, you know, both the causes they've taken on and how they carry themselves in public when they're doing their charity work, maybe not so much when they're sort of fighting. But it's, you know, it will be a very, very sad day. But I think just look at the evidence that we've seen with William moving towards homelessness, trying to do some fantastic things with his homeward projects, and Harry as well. You know, they're
she used to take them to the embankment.
Very much, yeah. When they were so young.
You have this privileged life, but here are, you know, examples of people who don't.
Exactly, and this is what life is like outside the palace walls for so many people. And William and Catherine are doing that as well with their own children, speaking to them on the school run when they're driving to school, and discussing what their work is like.
I mean, I know it's seems to be the perception that William and Harry still are not talking. It certainly seems to be that way. And I do think if she was still alive, she would have...
I don't think that would have happened.
She would have knocked their heads together and said, right, come on, we've got to sort this out.
I don't think it would have happened if she was alive.
It's a difficult point, isn't it? Because I'm sure so many things would have been different if Diana was still alive. Of course, she would have been heartbroken at the breakdown of their relationship. I mean, make no mistake, it's at its worst point that it's ever been, and I don't see any chance of the reconciliation.
Not believe they will reconcile?
No, not at all. I think that certainly we've seen Harry recently speaking about wanting reconciliation with his family. Talking about his father's illness. You know, the King is doing great at the moment, but he's nearly 78. He's been having cancer treatment for 2.5 years. There is a willingness, I think, on both sides to mend the...
So why do you think it won't come to anything? Because, like, you know, for anyone watching that, it's heartbreaking. You wouldn't want that for your children.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure that the King, you know, constantly told by people close to him, the King loves both his children equally. He doesn't want his final years to be destroyed by this fractiousness of the relationship. And yet, William and Catherine and other members of the family feel deeply, deeply hurt by everything said in the open...
Did you see that? I mean, this is your book,
yes.
William and Catherine, The Intimate Inside Story. There it is for you. So do you talk a lot about that fractured relationship within the book, and how do we know that what you say and what you think is based on actually real stuff and not just stuff that you've made up? Because there's a lot of royal news.
Yeah.
Like, less so when you were doing it, Jane, but I think that there's not you, I mean, just the industry. But there's a lot of royal stuff that's made up.
I think you know they don't speak because they're never seen
but I mean,
place,
I mean, when you're calling something the intimate inside story, it's like, how do we know that what you're saying is true?
Of course, and I appreciate that fact. I mean, there's an awful lot of clickbait out there. There's, you know, everybody's trying to boost their numbers. I mean, this book is a product of 10 years working in my job as royal editor. It's also a product of having great contacts, knowing people close to them. And I think when people read it, they get a really interesting insight and the truth as to what has happened. And yes, I do touch upon certainly the fractiousness of Harry and William's relationship.
I mean, from William's point of view, I get it, because if you think, you know, Harry's book, Spare, in it, he told stories that would only have been between him and William, you know, like when they had the fight and stuff like that, and also made a couple of not particularly flattering comments about Catherine. And I think for William, it's like, A, he wants to protect his wife, but B, it's like, well, how will I ever trust you again in a brotherly situation how do I know you're not going to go back to America and it's going to end up on a TV show?
Of course, and that has happened.
Yeah.
You know, they've sort of brought Harry back into the fold, talking to him at the late Queen's funeral on the Platinum Jubilee, and then Harry just goes and does his next interview, whether that was the Netflix series or appearing on American breakfast television.
It becomes like a currency.
Of course, and that is perhaps all they've got now. You know, they had the association with the royal family. Netflix and Spotify were chucking tens of millions of pounds at them. And once you've sort of left that alone, what is the currency? You know, they do have to keep that
If I was William,
that
I'd be wearing a GoPro.
Well, and he
he
has to look after not only his family, but also the monarchy as well. I mean, he is going to be the future king.
Do you think Harry will come next week with Meghan and the children?
Well, things are very much up in the air. I mean, you just look at the last few days. We first of all heard from Harry and Meghan's spokesman that, yes, they're all coming. Then 24 hours later, no, it's potentially all off. I think certainly...
this is because the government has decided they can't have royal protection outside of sort of palace confines.
For sure. They were stripped of their security when they left the royal family. Now, Harry has jumped the gun, it looks like, because he thought he was going to be afforded this protection that he so craves, and yet what has happened is he put out the statement saying, we're all coming, then had to row back on it when he was given that letter saying that he's not going to receive that. So you could look at it both ways, because Harry is the son of the king, he is a former British soldier, there have been threats to him and
to Meghan as well.
And to Meghan, of course.
But
so
don't
that's why he doesn't feel
publicise
safe.
it. Land at Biggin Hill.
Yeah.
Get in a car. No one knows you're here. Straight into palace grounds where you are protected.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, because he was here for he's here for the Invictus Games. It's a year before the Invictus Games, so he always makes that trip a year before the Invictus Games actually happened. And when we were talking about it on the Talking Roars podcast, which is available on ITV News, episodes drop every Friday afternoon. But we were sort of saying, technically, the king could pay for that private protection. He's one of the top 100 taxpayers in the country. But it's not about the money for Harry, is it? It's about the principle.
No, I mean, first of all, let's take that argument, and it is an argument that's been made. And a lot of people say, well, the king could help his son. Of course,
but they're not for hire.
He's the king. There's certainly the Metropolitan Police are not for hire.
Exactly.
We've seen that. You know, you can't just be Elton John and turn up and say, I want to have Metropolitan Police guards with me. The other thing is, this is a government decision. It is made by the Home Office. It wouldn't be right for the king to start meddling in political business. I mean, we'd all have a bit of something to say about that. The other side of the coin is that Harry and Meghan are fabulously wealthy. They have amassed wealth that we couldn't even dream of, most of us. So,
I have Ukraine. They live in an area where people have guns.
They've been to other countries.
Where they pay for their own.
But they argue that they're safer in places in Ukraine than they are within the UK because of the threats that have been made.
And that may well be
them.
true. I mean, and I do have some sympathy for him. But you look at the evidence. He's lost a case at the High Court. He's lost a case at the Court of Appeal. And now he's sending letters to the Home Office. And then he's sort of angry when it still doesn't go his way.
His legal fees must be astronomical.
They must be astronomical, certainly,
Huge. Oh, my goodness, there wasn't a lot to talk about, Russell. Never is with royal stuff, but look, we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me on.
The book's a really good read. I have looked through it, so thanks so much for coming in.